Are you ready to hear from someone who has spent the last decade in the recruitment business into now building a solution for a lot of those recruiters to use AI in the best way that it can be used? This is the Scale You podcast, and on season 6, we are bringing in every single week an amazing AI agency founder and diving in their stories of how they got started, the sticky middle, and where they're at, and where they see all of this going. So if you're ready to ditch the grind, let's go over and scale you. I am your host, Lacaba, the creator of BOS AI on Bullseye, as well as the co-founder for 2XU. And for our guest today, after a decade on the desk as a recruiter, trainer, and agency owner, our guest has basically built the Recruitment Agency Hub. It essentially gives agencies their own team of AI specialists. The recruiters hire these assistants, brief them like actual new hires, coach them like juniors, and they essentially go ahead and handle the sourcing, the BD, the database admin, and the grind. One system replaces 6 to 8 tools on one invoice with no tie-ins, building innovative AI-led platforms and systems to make recruiters and relationship building at the core of their job instead of being admin clicks. So guys, please help me welcome our guest for today, Nick. Hey, Nick.
Hello.
Excited to have you on. Like I said before we started recording, I'm curious basically about what you do. But before we dive into that, who were you before all of the AI madness? Like, what was that version of Nick like?
Still just as stressed and short attention span as I have now. So I've been in recruitment for about 15 years or so, where I had my own agency, and I spent about 3 and a bit years training recruiters. So before the AI piece, I was a recruiter, an agency owner, and I train recruiters to do recruitment.
Gotcha. And with being in recruitment that long, I guess I can see how easy it would be to kind of add AI into what you do. But what got you started in AI? Like, what was the switch over of like, okay, this is another thing that I want to focus on?
What, permanently or part-time?
Depends on where you're currently at.
Oh, now I'm full-time. So a lot of people don't really actually understand that AI came out about 3.5 years ago or something. OpenAI, GPT, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Perplexity all came out pretty much the same sort of time. And I was all over it like a rash, because at the same time, I was literally building a recruitment agency from scratch in the renewables market. So I was using that a lot to build my own business, like market mapping and resourcing and all that stuff. And it was doing really well, but I just knew the upward trend of this space. So about 1.5 to 2 years ago, I essentially shut down the business, even though it was doing pretty good. And I focused full time on what I'm doing now, which is more on the development side.
Gotcha. And I can imagine that that's not the easiest thing to make that switch over. I was saying before, like, I've had a virtual assistant agency for like 7 years, and now I'm also slowly switching to that. I'm like, okay, just building and creating things for people. What was that like having to, especially since you said that you used it for like marketing, for your own thing, like what was the shift journey for you? Like, okay, now this is the only thing that you have to like shove off any clients off of the list, or you just like, okay, this is now what I focus on, and kind of things kind of progress from there. What was that like?
It wasn't actually too difficult, because just throughout my life, it's quite annoying actually. When I get an idea and I know it's a good one, nothing else matters. So I'm able to detach quite quickly. I had cash in the bank. The sad thing was I'd let go of all my guys, because, and that wasn't just AI related, that was personal stuff related as well. So for me, it was like a fresh start-ish. The hardest thing, though, hands down, and it still is quite difficult now, is understanding what it is I really do. And whilst I'm very refined now, before, my proposition was just like, hey, let me go and build loads of workflows and tools for you and all this stuff. And everybody loved the idea of it. And then they might back out because it was probably, and I don't mean to sound arrogant here at all, and this is just me speaking to lots of people. The stuff that I've been doing for quite a long time is way more advanced than what people are doing today. So when I was, 2 and a bit years ago, was saying to somebody, listen, we can build that, which does that, which does this, which does that, which does this, they were like, amazing. And then when it came to the crunch, they were like, oh, actually, I'm not sure if I can deal with that change, or I'm not sure. Do you see what I'm saying? So I had to really like strip back, and then that's like individualize things and sell specific workflows instead of multi workflows. So that was very difficult for me because my brain tends to work quite fast sometimes, and I see lots of different things, and trying to get people to have the patience and see that as well was challenging. And recruiters aren't the most patient people in the world, so that was definitely challenging, and it still is today, to be honest with you. So hopefully that gave the answer to your question there. Stopping the business, not an issue. Starting the new one and understanding the ICP, that was a challenge.
Well, what's the pitch now? And I remember being in that space of like, okay, we'll create anything for you, and having to like narrow down like, okay, this is actually what we do. Well, what's the pitch now? Like if someone asks you, elevator pitch, like what's your elevator pitch nowadays then?
It's quite difficult actually. Yeah. But basically I focus on 2 things. The first is I make LLMs, like Claude in particular, really functional. So Claude's really, really good at, understanding reasoning. You give it some information, it spits something else out. I build tools which you can connect to Claude with, so Claude can then search LinkedIn, or Claude can, I don't know, send stuff to Lemlist, an outreach campaign, or it's functional, right? So and they're called MCPs or connectors. The second thing that I do is the platform that I built called the Recruitment Agent Hub. And the best way to describe it is kind of in the name. It's a hub for agents with CRM functionality.
Wow.
With the pretense of, because I've been in recruitment for so long and I've trained, I understand the annoyance of generating prospect lists, resourcing people, like all the stuff which takes forever and stops people getting on the phone. The Agent Hub effectively solves that by you creating assistants, and then your job turns into monitoring their output and then triggering something else. So that was a long elevator pitch, but basically it's 2 things. Like making Claude work for you well, and then a separate product altogether which connects everything together, all your tech together, and then agents run all the admin stuff, and then your job is to view something, trigger something else. So it was like a manager in a business.
Yeah, I know a lot of people use like build an AI chief of staff. So it sounds like more of an operator, like an in-between. So if I said like, hey Nick, I'm looking for, I don't know, a new COO. Like, what would that process look like working with you or with like the people that you work with? Like, imagine with the recruitment agencies, like what would that process now look like versus like now it would be like we'll put a job ad out, and then we'll see and filter people who come in, blah blah blah. But what would that actually look like with your tool?
So you might have an assistant. So this is actually quite a good example. I've got a candidate assistant called Robbie, and Robbie, his whole job is to map out companies for C-suite people. So COOs, CEOs, founders, blah blah blah. Whether that's for a job or whether that's just relevant to the market. So if you gave me a COO role, I would give it to the assistant. The assistant would then, because it's connected to LinkedIn, is connected to the database, it's connected to external databases and whatever else. It will go off and create searches, provide me with a shortlist. I then look at a jobs Kanban, which is like a jobs table thing, and then I can see all the shortlists. And then I would say to it, yep, I like these people, go and send them to outreach. And then it will send it all to the outreach that I've built. And then when that COO responds back via LinkedIn or email or whatever else, I then get notified, and then I pick up the phone and I speak to them. So that's basically what, for that specific situation.
That's a perfect, very visual also, just like it eliminates a lot of the having to open LinkedIn Sales Navigator and making sure that you're targeting the right person and like making sure that they fit essentially the manual work. Because I remember I haven't done that kind of recruitment in so long, basically since starting my business, but I remember how manual and how like at this point almost archaic. Oh, like how to like break down like who it is that we're looking for, making sure that they're actually matched.
Yeah. Most recruiters still like that.
I can imagine, and like I can see how your tool. Well, I say archaic now because then for us, like we built automations to make it easier. But for people who've never even thought that was something that was possible for them, they're probably still doing a lot of it manual now. A question I love asking AI founders or people who've started AI businesses is, are you a developer? Like, do you have any background on that of just like build on the development side, or are you a non-developer, now technical developer or technical founder?
I am a technical project manager that understands code but can't write it, nor do I need to. So I've been into no code for about 10, 11 years, building applications and on like Bubble and all these things. So I use Claude a lot. And because I've got that sort of technical understanding, it means that I can build products quite effectively because I know exactly what to pinpoint things on. But no, I am not a coder, and I'm proud of that actually, because this is what this new AI allows people like me, or maybe yourself, to be able to do.
Yeah, like I said, I like asking that question because like 9 out of 10 times, I think I've only really had one person say, like, this is a complete background. I had like this development agency for so long, and I've switched to AI. I'm like, so like the back end, like you understand the little symbols that I have no idea how to read, but like you understand it. So being technically a non-technical founder and building out a business like this, like you've said, like part of it was part of the difficult part was going through and narrowing down, like, okay, this is the solution, so people can understand it right off the bat. What has been the other difficult side of making sure that the product works, like the testing? Like, what was that process like for you?
Still ongoing. So basically, I've got I test everything myself, but the reality is until you've got actual users with user cases, it doesn't matter how many times I test it or how many agents I spin up to test it. So with the hub has been through V1, and V1 was me with an idea, and then I managed to get lucky, and there was quite a lot of people who were quite interested, and they're actually still with me now. And whenever there's a new feature, I use it myself for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and then I give it to them for 2 or 3 weeks. They give me tons of bugs, I fix them all, and then I release them. And with the members at the moment, they understand that this is a building progress and it will be forever because I like building. So they basically will, tell me, I just tried this and this is what happened, and I fix it very, very quickly. So it's an ongoing progress. There are some things that absolutely are solid, don't have an issue. But because of the complexity of what I'm doing, this isn't like NAN scenarios, right? If this happens and that happens and this is like 10 agents talking to each other, right? Feeding, one bit of data to this agent and whatever else. It's a little bit bonkers actually. So it always brings up bugs. Even if I think I fixed loads of them, it brings up something else somewhere else. So it's an ongoing thing. It's difficult, but I'm lucky that I've got a bunch of people. I call them my product managers, who are using the products, paying for the product actually, and giving me really valuable insights. And then in return, I'm building them custom agents or features that they really like, so that it really feels like it's theirs as well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can imagine. And that's something that I've also heard a lot of, like, very non-technical founders, basically people who've never built apps before. They've created products and services for other people, but not an actual like app or something other people can interact with. Where they're scared, like, oh, what if people find bugs? What if people and then I'm like, but you find bugs with the tool that you've been using the last 10 years. There's gonna be bugs in a tool that you just built like 2 months ago. So it's that, I guess it's also that just constant learning of like, oh, okay, this is how humans actually interact with it, not just like how I have it in my head.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you're going through that back and forth. And one of the things that I think you mentioned also is because you saw essentially like the writing on the wall of like, you slow down on the recruitment and switch over to doing the AI builds. What's the next writing on the wall that you see? Like, what's the next kind of development, either in AI or in recruitment and with AI? Like, I can see so many people who get caught up with like, oh, if my resume gets run through AI, I'll never get, AI will only see a right in black and white, basically. Like, this person passed, this person doesn't. Like, what is the reality that you see has actually either happened from what you've seen before? Like, okay, this is what's happening in AI. This has now happened. And essentially, what do you see still going to happen?
All right. The example you gave is fact that will happen forever. And a large majority of that is because these guys aren't developing LLMs. They're using GPT, Claude with a prompt. And depending on how good your prompt is, depends on that. But fundamentally, that's going to happen. But I do kind of think that there's a massive hoo-ha about it. But actually, if you think about how recruiters decide whether they're going to accept somebody or not accept somebody, they do it even more ruthlessly than like an LM would. Right? So a couple of things I suppose I thought would happen, which has happened, without sounding like arrogant, I suppose. A lot of stuff. So when Anthropic first came out, I was one of their very, very early adopters to start adding tools to it, because I knew that as soon as you had an LLM that could connect to software, if you knew how to use that software, then it'll be actually useful. So like the MCPs or the connectors that you see now on Claude, I did that when it first came out pretty much. I knew that was going to be a trend, so that's actually what my original ICP was. And the second thing, I suppose, is the LLMs have got context windows, which, do you know what this is?
Yeah. Is it the context window as in like on memory or like you put in instructions, or is it context window as in like being able to read back on chats? Like, what kind of context window?
Well, all LLMs have context windows, which means how much information they can absorb before they start going in AWOL, right? And a lot of those context windows now might be 1 million characters. So that's like a book, right? You can give it a book and it'll be able to recite page 1, line 1, right? But the problem is when you start connecting it to tools, each tool gives loads of information to the LLM when it might only need 1 or 2 things. Okay. So one of the things I noticed quite quickly with Claude and GPT, etc., was that was going to swallow the context window, which means you can't use it for very long, which means it's not going to be that functional, right? So one of the things I started focusing on quickly was the Agent Hub, where there is no context. It just keeps going. But when it comes to me building MCPs or connectors, I build it in a very different way, so that if you imagine instead of giving you a book, I give you the first line of the chapter. And if you want to read the next of the chapter, I then give you the chapter, right? So it saves those in context. So previously, those predictions were were correct, and that was only, I think, because I was using it so much so early, so I could see what was going to happen, and I was able to pivot quickly. Where I think things are going, I could actually talk to you about this for an hour. So when I said to you to rein me in, I'm not sure, do you want me to drop some serious bombs, or shall I just be nice and polite and just tell you a simple few things?
A little bit of time. So if you want to go through, like, I don't know, your top 3 ones that you're looking forward to, or even if the one is the big thing, whichever one we have time.
All right. So I think personally that CRMs are completely useless and pointless.
Ooh.
They are designed for 1980, 2000s, even new ones. And the reason why is because they're user-led. To search for people, you need to add in tags. You need to do Boolean strings, which is keyword operated, which is not very effective, which means that you have to then scroll through 50 people to find the one person who's actually got the keywords, which is time intensive.
Yeah.
Time is a very, very important commodity to us. And time is also something that AI has completely transformed and removed. And CRMs have been able to get away with it for so long because recruitment companies need a CRM, right? We need to be able to store our data, access it, and whatever else. The problem is that they store the data, but you can't ever really access it, right? Because even if you do your Boolean string, you're going to get a financial controller that's got a financial controller 15 years ago because it's on a CV. Yeah? So that's why people don't use CRMs for searching that often. They use LinkedIn. And the problem with LinkedIn is that they know this and they're a monopoly, so they're charging a fortune. And CRMs are constantly, especially now, they're trying to add AI to this and integrations to that and everything else. All it's doing is dumping more data in a database that can't talk properly, right? Whereas the actual world that we live in is humans do not need to be the one managing, like inputting the data and then sorting through everything. They do not need to, like the whole SaaS model, right, which is built on users. That's why they charge per user. You don't need that anymore because agents are specifically designed to do that stuff. So it's going to put a little bit of a sticky situation for CRMs, and that's why you're also getting new CRMs now where they're AI native. But what's funny is those AI native ones like Atlas or Spot or whatever, they still require the user to do a lot of the stuff. Okay? So one of the big things that I think is that a lot of the big CRM systems, like Vincere, I don't even know who uses Vincere anymore, but there are still people out there. They don't have APIs. They've got a really old database. Bullhorn is hard. Like everybody knows Bullhorn. It's very secure. It's losing a lot of market capital because of the fact that you can't do anything with it, right? But they do have a good API. Where I think that the CRMs are going to have issues is that people are going to start realizing that they don't need a CRM, especially if they can have agents that can manage, sort, and edit and distribute the data correctly by you typing, right? The reality is we're in a get culture. So, and this started from Google, right? When you type in Google, and the best things about Google, I'm looking for a restaurant that does X, Y, and Z. Boom. You got your 5 pages. You never go page 2. But you go your page, you know what I mean? That's a get culture now, right? Now what we're doing is we're using ChatGPT or Claude. Hey, here's a question. Give me an answer. I can't be bothered to read loads of stuff. Yeah. So CRMs are going to struggle significantly because the behavior that AI enforces is changing people's way of working into even more of a get culture. So if they now have to do a keyword search and then shift through 1,500 CVs or 500, it's pointless because I can click a button and my agents will just do it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that CRMs as we know it is going to change, and the CRMs or the CRM-esque type businesses like mine are going to do well if they have databases which are designed for agents, not for human inputs.
That makes a lot of sense. Of like, So it was like when you first said that really good sentence of like CRMs are basically going to be extinct. I was like, so what would like replace them? But like the way that you described it of like, it essentially becomes not a CRM but like a database, and then the AI essentially is your Google. I'm like, hey, who would be the best person for this job description as an example? Or who would be one thing that you reminded me that I tried to do the other day is like I do have like not really a CRM but a database of like almost every person that I've talked to in the last like decade, and I asked like, hey, who would be the best to like connect to this person because they have X, Y, and Z, and because my AI has like a Notion database at this point, but I'm switching it up. But it essentially was able to search through, okay, you met this person, 6 months ago, you last talked to them here. This is the last thing that they said they're interested in. This is probably the person to connect to this person. I'm like, if it was me or my assistant like going through that, it would take a while of like just context and remembering. But because AI can do that so much faster, I didn't have to like scroll through my own CRM.
Yeah.
Is that essentially what you're thinking, like how that would evolve?
Yeah. So again, I'll just give you I'll give you some examples. Again, this isn't about me like selling the hub or anything. This is just me just telling you like what I'm building, and you know why now, right? So you know the methodology behind why. Okay, so I think that okay, you have a note taker, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So what does your note taker do for you?
Well, I typically just use Zoom's native one, and then it basically is stored in Zoom until my Claude gets it.
And then what does Claude do?
Stores it in that same CRM that I currently have and grabs the transcription into a Notion page, and then it's basically stored there.
But is it like a summary of the conversation?
No, the whole transcript basically of the conversation.
Yeah, okay. So, really good example. Because if you've got rich data, the only thing stopping you from leveraging that into 15, 20 different things is your own like understanding of what you can do. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. Most people think that note takers summarize, right? The summary is, yeah, fine. The thing that's actually really useful is you've got loads of raw data. So one of the features that I just added, so I use Fathom, all right? I love Fathom. I can't live without Fathom. Honestly, it's free, it connects everything, and I get the raw data. So if we were using my Google Meets right now and this was Fathom, this is what will happen. If you're a candidate, after conversation, it will get sent to my database. From the database, I've got 4, I call them deep search agents. Basically, you don't see them. They just work, all right? The transcript triggers one, which summarizes, just like all the other stuff, no problem. The other one will look at it from a commercial perspective. Have I spoken to you about an opportunity, leads? Is that company hiring, firing, redundant, whatever? Yeah. If the answer to that is yes, then what it can do, because it has tools, it can go and look up the company. It can go and check jobs. It can go and find the hiring managers. And then if any of those things are yes, it then shows as a lead, the leads Kanban for the member. The other ones are things like craft an email, like how would I sell this person? Who do I sell them to? So it searches the database. Do you see what I mean? So with that raw text, you can provide it with specific pieces of information, which is non-sensitive. And then you can have multiple agents working off of that text to then produce a result. That result is then what you see. The member, they click on a button, they see leads, and they'll see the deep sea agent has produced this, right? Leanne said this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. What do you want to do with it? Do you see what I'm saying? So that's a good example there of how CRMs would never do that. Or if CRMs can do that, then what they do is they make it user triggering. So here's a transcript. Click that button if you want that to happen. Click that button if you want that to happen. Click that button if you want that to happen, right? And if you're a recruiter and you're speaking to 5, 10, 15 people a day, you ain't clicking those buttons. It's not happening, right? And then you get a backlog, and then when there's a backlog, you can't be bothered with it. But if you've got a database with agents that can understand the data and can be triggered in a safe way, then the output is very rich, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
most people think the note takers are that. I look at the note taker's gold. The data is gold. Like if you can think of, like if you can think of, like, the other thing as well I forgot to mention as well is that I've got a marketing agent that automatically takes non-sensitive information, turns it into interesting recruitment posts for me, tells me, here's the post that I think about this conversation. I click a button, then it's sent. And then the same agent then tracks any comments. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, and all of it feeds back to the database. Yeah, so the database is just stores data. The difference is that the agents know how to use it, and then the human just triggers it. Not even triggers it, they enable it.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
It's funny because a lot of that is very much knowing how to design, and it's a skill that a lot of people have, and it's a skill that a lot of people know how to like fully develop. But like, I just described to you like how my mini agent basically grabs transcriptions and puts it in the right person, so that anytime that I think about that person or ask it a question, it knows how to grab things. For you, you've designed it for a way where it can trigger multiple decisions even afterwards, where it's not just like it stops here, but like now that we have this information that we can feed and everything else. A lot of that is very much, essentially, I can imagine, a lot of trial and error, a lot of like, oh, this actually would have been, hindsight is 2020. We should have done that before, and now you have it in the front end of like something that you're getting ahead of a problem before it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
What would be and is this? Now we're taking a little bit longer, but then I do want to ask this question: like, what would be your advice, I guess, or if someone wants to develop that strategic design thinking of like how to think beyond an AI just doing A plus B equals to C, it's now like a to the square of whatever. So then you're actually maximizing what you get as data.
The reason why I'm able to build agents, and the reason why I'm able to create the workflows or the ideas for the agents is because I've been in recruitment. And all I literally do is just think, right, if I had a CV in front of me, how do I generate business? And I go, okay, well, I look at each company, I'd find the hiring managers, I'd find out if they're hiring, I'd find out if there's intent. Easy to do that, right? Okay, if I had that same CV, what else could I do? Well, I can do a search on my database to find companies that might be able to sell that person into. All right, nice. Okay, what else could I do? Well, I can summarize it in a cover sheet, obviously. Cool. What else could I ask myself these questions, like, if you're a recruiter, what is it you actually do right now, right? And the reality is that thinking, that logic is what's very easy. Well, I say easy, it's not. It's, you can then just say, right, cool. Let's have one agent that does this. And the key thing, and I think most people go wrong on, which I certainly went wrong on at first, but I definitely don't now, is each agent needs to be mad specialists. Like, if you've got a CV stripper, which is for the agents that I've got, it looks at CV, looks at companies, and blah, 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 right? All it does is that. It does nothing else. If you give it a CV and be like, is this one good for the role? It'll be like, I don't care. Go and speak to Teddy, the other agent, right? I only care about getting commercial information out of this. Do you see what I mean? Whereas that same CV stripper, it might be a CV stripper 2.0 that looks at it from a headhunting perspective, right? I could take these companies and I can go and find more candidates like them. I wouldn't give that to a CV stripper, like the commercial one. Do you see what I'm saying? So what you want to do is you want to not try and build these like massive things, because you're then going to swamp it and confuse it. You want to make lots and lots of little things that then can all communicate and talk to each other. So even if you're using NAN or make.com or relevance, like all these other like third-party tools, just make really simple workflows and then just connect information to each other. The only difference is I don't do that anymore. I do it in code form, right? But that's what I would. That's how I approach it, really, and that's what I would recommend. Like, even yourself, you can do it quite easy. Just think about it from a recruiter's perspective.
True. So, I guess it's the combination of like I said earlier, like experience essentially, like the trial and error of like the hindsight is 2020, and now you're putting it in front instead of something that you forget. And I like what you said that of like when you're building agents, don't think of it as like doing this everything, but it specializes, and then you can pass the next task to the next thing, the next and next thing. That's a really good way to make it where you don't hate AI because it doesn't do the thing that you wanted it to do, but it was really because you didn't design it in a way that it actually makes sense for you.
Yeah.
So
I'd say just on that, I suppose I'd say that one of the big issues, and I don't know whether this is a recruiter thing, I don't know, but they have got such wild expectations on what AI can do, and they don't actually understand. Like a lot of people think that it is like this, like, you know, unicorn that's got stars springing off of it, right? Like I had this one guy who literally gave them one of the most complicated, like complex workflows. Like, do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and then when it didn't work efficiently, he said, "This is rubbish." I was like, okay, if you spoke to a human and you asked them to do the same thing, they would struggle with it. Do you see what I mean? So that expectation is really, really, really high with people. It's lowered down now a bit, but if you're building agents, you really need to make sure that you're aware of what people are likely to write, to make sure that it's delivering it effectively.
It goes back to design, like you creating essentially this is the output that I want, instead of like having it do 5 different things, have it just focus on the one and be the specialist of one. Then it goes back to to being intentional about it, I guess, as well. Like this the problem that I want to solve.
It's more the architecture, not the design, unless you think the design is the architecture.
Architecture's better.
Yeah. The architecture is the important thing, because everybody really wants to rush and build the roof and the front door, but if you don't have the foundations, the house falls down, right? And the foundations is the boring stuff, but it's the important stuff. So that's where you really want to be focusing a lot on, is like foundationally, what does this agent need to do, and then how do I build it from the ground up?
It's funny, it's like what I do is really more on like building people's systems and like their processes and systems. The moment I say those words, like especially in a string, I can hear people like falling asleep and like, but this is why this is important, because then you know what you're building into, what you're putting on top, AI on top. You're not just like throwing pasta on the wall and seeing what sticks, but you're actually like, okay, this is currently how this works. Now, when we add AI to it, it works better, versus like just adding AI and not really knowing what you're adding AI into. So I've seen that a lot. So Nick, if as AI gets better and better, as science and health gets better and better, if we were able to perfectly clone you and your very interesting ideas and the way that you see the world as well, how do you think it would impact or shift the world if they had like 300 Nicks running around the world?
Probably be a calmer place with less greed. Because I'm quite calm and I'm not greedy, and I like to think bigger picture and consequences, cause and effect, which I think most people don't have. I don't actually know how to answer that, if I'm honest. Apart from that, maybe it'd probably be quite a creative place, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. I think that ultimately, if you take some of the characteristics of me as opposed to 300 clones of me, if you take the characteristics of me and applied it to more people, then you'd probably find that you might be a bit more pragmatic and think about things outside the box, and then think about how actual genuine solutions might look, as opposed to this doesn't work, let's go find something else that's shiny, which is kind of a lot about our culture, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I suppose that, to be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I even answered that very well, to be honest.
No, I've said this before in the podcast. I'm like, that question always gives me the most interesting answers. So that was your answer. So thank you so much, Nick, for your time and going through the bajillion questions that I had about how you think and how essentially you've built your business as well. If people want to find you, connect with you, work with you as well, how can they do that?
Well, they can go on to the recruitmentagenthub.com. That will give you a bit of an insight in terms of what I'm doing. Otherwise, just type in Nick Rickards at Voltaire Group or Recruitment Agent Hub in LinkedIn, and you'll post quite regularly. So you can absolutely jump on that. I give a lot of freebies as well, like free MCPs and connections to Claude and stuff like that. So if you are interested in that, just reach out and all good.
Thank you so much again, Nick. And had fun having you in the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Again, all of Nick's information is going to be found in the description below or in our notes essentially on the 2x2.com website. So make sure to check that out. And if you want to build your own systems with AI, feel free to book a systems audit call with me. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there. Comment below any questions you might have with Nick. He might answer it wherever you're commenting that. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the weekly episodes of the Scale You podcast, available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. I hope you guys have a wonderful and amazing day. And with that, small steps matters, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.